In yesterday's video, we were looking for a bounce somewhere around about $97,000 price per Bitcoin. And in today's video, I want to give a nice little warning out there to the cryptocurrency world that things are likely to get very, very complicated, I do suspect, in a way that they haven't really been over the next few weeks here. Before we get to that, however, I do want to let you know that we do have our weekly Q&A session, which will be tomorrow. And of course, if you want to contribute or join on in, ask whatever fucking questions that you might be wanting in your life. However, I might not always have the answer. You can do so for free in the link in the description below for Discord, and then all you need to do is just find your way over here to the weekly Q&A section that my cursor is currently on right now. All right, sweet. Let's pick up where we left off on yesterday's video. Yesterday's video, we were looking for the current Bitcoin bounce to travel at least a little bit higher, somewhere between about 96,700 to 97,700. That means I'm $100 off. So wrong, and should be killed and maimed. But despite that, it is looking like Bitcoin is indeed putting in its next lower high right around that region that we were looking at. There are several things that do further confirm the likelihood of a short-term top here. We do see that the 4-hour RSI is going to be having hidden bearish divergence between this current high right here and also the high from December 25th. Let me actually mark this off with a vertical bar, and then even connected with the high way back on over here from December 18th. Both of these were significantly higher than where Bitcoin is trading right now. And so, Bitcoin has a bit of an uphill battle here, at least in the short term, and the pullback is likely to bring things a little bit lower. We'll talk about very obvious targets for this pullback in a second, and then also what the correction kind of looks like just in general. But on top of that, we see that the 4-hour RSI also has a herp and derp, the head and shoulders right there, which again, I put a lot more weight on formations that are actually in the RSI compared to spot price just any price action really. It doesn't need to be spot, it could be futures. But in this case, hidden bearish divergence plus that. And of course, if we go up to the 6-hour time frame, you got the same, if we can load it, we got the same hidden bearish divergence. Actually, this one is connecting all the dots as of right now, awaiting full-on confirmation, which will be had with any sort of a 6-hour closure below about, especially like 96. And I believe it even goes all the way up to a 12-hour time frame here. Yeah, we are seeing higher highs on the 12-hour RSI compared to those last prior highs as well, or at least the one from December 25th. So, you are having, or not you are, you're probably just a person, not actually Bitcoin or Bitcoin's chart, but Bitcoin's chart is having a bit of hidden bearish divergence right there, and very likely does carry on with a bit of a bit of a pullback. So where is the obvious targets, like extremely likely probabilistic targets for this pullback? And then where do things start to take a bit of a different turn, let's say? Well, for this, I would go over here to the daily HPDR, and the median is currently coming in right around about 95,300 or so. I do suspect that Bitcoin will at some point today test around there. The question is, does Bitcoin get a heroic bounce from there? If I'm going to have any sort of bull hopium, that would be it. I mean, I guess Bitcoin just pops down there and then, rallies over the next couple of days, especially back above this last high and closes above there. And at that point, you're going to hear me take on a different tone. But until that happens, I do think that pullback is very likely to meet somewhere around 95.5, let's say. Try for a bit of a short-term bounce, but very likely fail that short-term bounce, thus confirming the next lower high for Bitcoin compared to, of course, the December 25th/26th lower high right here. It's like Santa rallied and then Santa fucking dropped the red dildos on everyone's face, I guess. Anyways, that then, if that happens, meaning that the bull hopium scenario, which I think is actually, a lot less likely to happen, gets confirmed not to happen, which we went over that scenario a little bit earlier, where would the overall corrective target be for this current move to the downside? Well, it's the same thing as what we looked at on yesterday's video. And by the way, if you find this content valuable, if you just want updates each and every day, consider liking and subscribing, because it does help that content get into your inboxes on the YouTubes, if that's of your interest. Anyways, I wanted to pull back. I wanted to come back to this same chart that we were looking at on yesterday's video, the interaction on CME between that red moving average and the yellow moving average. The red is the 5 exponential, the yellow is the 21 exponential. And we have seen the 5 cross the downside, the red cross under the yellow as of that failure in essentially the Santa rally, if you want to call it that. And anytime that we've seen the red cross below the yellow, we've seen at minimum a correction down to at least minimum to that green moving average right there, which is a 55 exponential. I can give you a few examples for this. I've actually gone ahead and back tested the whole history of CME. And when you have this interplay where all major moving averages are technically in a bullish posturing, and then you get the 5 crossing below the 21. So that means that all of those need to be above the 55. You get at minimum a correction down to the 55. In many cases, as you can see, the correction already happened right here, but that condition was filled nonetheless. There's been many instances on CME over the past, over the full history, and to actually put numbers on it, well, there has been 18 prior occurrences. All of those, every single time has led to a correction down at minimum to the green 55. Now, that is currently coming in around 89,500, and of course there is a premium over spot price action by about $1,000. So spot, the equivalent area as of this moment would be 88 or 88.5, somewhere around there. And again, that's a minimum target. Where am I going with this? Yes, so that would be the minimum target, and Bitcoin very likely to come down around there. Now, here's the thing with moving averages, naturally, with each and every passing daily closure, this is going to move up. So as of right now, it's at 89.5. In a few days, it'll be, I guess, 90,000. So it's very possible that we actually do see something like this where disregard the red coloring. I mean this as like the moving average, like a projection for the moving average, comes up somewhere around here. And then at that point, maybe price action does something like this, comes down and fulfills that test to the 55, which I think, if Bitcoin coming back down to the low 90s anyways would make a lot of people really consider, Bitcoin likely to break significantly below $90,000. I guess, at least that's what I see around social media. It seems like that's kind of, one of the main ideas going around right now, that Bitcoin's going to play out a big, massive move to the downside, fill this gap over here at around 78 to 80,000 bucks, and then maybe continue on with the rally. Possible, I guess, but I'd still look at this as a little more likely first, because in yesterday's video, we went over the likelihood that Bitcoin is, by the end of February, Bitcoin's very likely to trade at least north of 110,000 bucks at some point, between now and that date. So while this corrective period, can take many twists and turns, and maybe ends up looking something like this, personally, I don't want to be getting too bearish myself. Of course, if Bitcoin does break below 90,000 bucks, maybe it does go well below the 55, and you see that move into the mid, maybe even low $80,000 territory. Possible, yes, but I take one step before the next, because this would be, again, a more obvious target. On top of that, monthly time frame. Whoops, damn it. Let me just get over here. There we go. Monthly time frame, again, the red 5 exponential moving average, which Bitcoin loves to reconnect with on any trending major move, is currently at 86, a little bit above 86,000 bucks. So, that gives us a nice buffer zone that obviously would be below the 55, which is fine. Again, that's a minimum target, but somewhere in that pocket there, very, very likely if Bitcoin is going to be bullish, we really do expect a bounce off of this moving average right here, just as it has in all prior bull markets where price was trending to the upside. Any sort of test down to the 55, but the 5, and the red moving average again was essentially a low before trading significantly to the upside. And same thing as this one as with the 55. You can see wicks below there. That's fine. We just don't want to see closures below there. So we really would be expecting like a decent bounce from this region, regardless of whether it trades a little bit, under it or not, if the bull market is still on. So all this is all it's all like fractally related to each other, obviously. So yeah. Anyways, let me just get back onto my notes over here. Okay, yes, we got short term, we got the bounce. Yes, now very likely to pull back in the short term below 95.5 or 95.3, let's say. This no longer looks like, or at least in my opinion, there's no more short-term hopium. And I think that this is, again, rather unlikely to play out regardless of that. And Bitcoin, likely does find its way back down around, these lows over here, maybe a little bit lower than that as well over the next maybe week or two. Can take some time again. Other than that, I did want to just briefly mention this. So I've been updating this on Twitter, which I've actually been a lot more active with recently. It's actually pretty fun now, Twitter. I've learned how to use Twitter. The way to use Twitter is you mute and block anyone who you just don't want to see those fucking things anymore, because and you should like stuff that you do want to see. And if you do that, then your feed becomes significantly less toxic. It's actually quite nice. Anyways, like, why didn't I think of this before? It seems so fucking logical. No, the algorithms are designed to fuck you up. No, it's designed to give you what you want. And they only know what you want if you actually like what you want. Anyways, back onto the topic of crypto markets. We've been updating this chart on Bitcoin dominance. And again, this is following the path. Lower high was put in just almost exactly where the LARP line is on a closing basis. And, very likely to continue down here. I suspect that you will see it back down below about 56%, maybe even sometime this month. Now, here's the thing. Many alts don't look fucking good. Many alts don't look fucking good. So how can that possibly be? I believe it's the exact same thing that I've been saying for quite some time now that seems to really get a lot of hate, especially on Twitter, to be fair as well, which is you're not going to see an altcoin season like you've seen in the past, where just everything gets a free ride to new all-time highs and shit like that. In fact, that wasn't even the case in 2021, by the way. I mean, many things did not make new all-time highs. But in this cycle, you're going to see some absolutely fucking massive winners that drag that whole part of the equation up, or in this case, this chart down. And then the rest are going to, they're going to get bounces. They're probably going to get like decent percentage bounces, but they're not going to reverse any macro trends. They're not going to be making any new all-time highs, nothing like that. It really does seem to me that the market, over the years has been shifting more into somewhat more, this comparative statement, quality stuff. Take that as you will. Anyways, that's just my idea right now. Ultimately, I do think that this chart has topped out, and I do think that it moves a lot lower. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be a blind alt season for everything. I think you're going to see some massive winners that just absolutely fucking crush it, and then the rest, not much. So yeah. Anyways, good place for me to be leaving off on this video. Oh, also, I want to follow up on some meta signals action over here. We just got the stats in, I'm just being given the stats here for December. And for the whole month of December, it does look like Target 1 did have a slightly lower probability than we've seen during the preceding months. It was a little bit closer to 70% before. Now for December, which obviously did see significant downside action, kind of just some more tumultuous action. We did see the Target 1 win rate go to about 62.5%. That is significant, just still because the Target 1, the Target 1 is typically an equal amount risk versus reward. Equal amount risk versus reward, meaning that, if you just play this out blindly, you took full profit at Target 1, it's going to be profitable. Or generally it's going to be profitable over time, of course. But, when I actually look at the losers that that Meta Signals had for December, most of them came over like a few day spread, which was rather interesting. Again, I do think that if you have even a little bit of technical know-how, you can probably figure out how to increase these odds even greater. But even without that, it's giving you probabilistic setups that, if you're interested in, will be of your interest. That's a fucking roundabout way of saying it. It gives you, of course, it gives you that advance notice. Anyways, that's where I'll leave things off for today. as always, I want to wish everyone well. The best of the best, maybe, as we get back into it right here. And we'll see where this correction kind of takes us in the next 24 hours. And I think that's going to be very revealing as to Bitcoin's likely path. So like I said, as long as Bitcoin's above 95.5, technically speaking, there does exist the small but present chance of hopium that Bitcoin could actually reclaim the current high from yesterday, Thursday. If you see that, if you see Bitcoin close above there, okay, something else is going on. I'm probably going to be massively wrong if that happens. Until that happens, though, this looks like a great place for another lower high. And that is what we leave things off for today. Wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Saturday.